cats, cops, and C4. All right, so in this list, literally thousands of suspects long, we may very well have our mind-bending assassin producing murderous Miss Big. From the information we've gotten out of the Unseen Eyes and Warlady Club's crew, there are a few indicators of her movements. Signatures that show that a specific hand is moving, and there will be retaliation if you interfere. Which means we need to somehow match up the gathered resources, likely motivations, and opportunity to these movements and patterns, Linda says in an unenthused voice, which is a wash on all three categories, as literally everyone on the list is an investor, a businesswoman, or any number of other rich type. Motivations could go from boredom to just not liking someone's face, and with communicators and a few filters, everyone has opportunity. Goodness, if I swiped a briefcase of Axiom Ride, I could easily be Miss Big, Malon counters, which is why we need to expand our view, Linda says, and brings up two more pictures besides Amy's. So what does Amy Frost, Michelle Alrian, and Gina Hallis have in common? Beyond all being literally cut down to size at one point? Vera says. She probably intended for it to be under her breath as a bit of black humor, but everyone hears it, and Amy looks distinctly uncomfortable. Yes, beyond the fact that they've all been attacked, which Miss Frost blessedly survived. Blessing nothing, it was due to Mr. Barnabas, Amy says. Let's stay focused. Cenk interrupts. Amy, what do you know about these women? One was an investor in one of your companies and the other worked for it. Honestly, that just taught me more about them. I don't recognize either. Amy admits. We're going to have to make some assumptions no matter what we do. The fact that our assassin was brainwashed by a dangerous cognitohazard blurs the trail far too much. Did I use that word right? All mental hazards are being called cognitohazards for now, even if the classic definition only has the contagious category or the unofficial and only theorized awareness category. The others could be considered mental attacks or, sorry, you just chided people to stay on topic and drifted off myself. Modan notes, pardon me, but why are you and we here? Not that I don't appreciate being brought in, however. It seems a little off with police procedure. I'm on the case, and as protection, Modan is on loan as an adept, and also on bodyguard duty. Long story short, until we're sure the storm has passed in one way or another, you're going to be no further than a short dash away at most, Cenk says. I've also requested that they be kept close to us. He already saved your life once, and while I hope it doesn't need to become a pattern, it is a very encouraging thing for him to do, Gabriella says. Right, well, back on topic, Solid Security Incorporated is the main link. Miss Frost owns it, Miss Hallis was an investor, and Miss Alrian was a data clerk working for it. If we assume that the link is the corporation, then we need to figure out what the goal is. Well, we need the files of what Miss Alrian had access to and what Miss Hallis might have investigated. That should narrow things down a fair amount, Linda remarks as she frowns as things start lining up. What are you thinking? Chunk asks. Well, a lot of files and information goes through an insurance company. A specific clerk might be someone who's run through it, and a specific investor might be the owner of something, or someone that might inherit it. But going for the owner? We really need that information. Has a request been put in for it? Gabriella asks. It takes time for a proper response. This has been a very, very full day, Linda says before nodding. One where my shift is just about ending. So the question as to what we're doing all of tomorrow and likely for the next few weeks is already settled, but how we keep you two safe is the real question. I get the feeling you won't be anywhere near as comfortable with a different bodyguard or protector assigned, will you? No, not really. Which is going to be an issue as I've got a half day now that I've seen combat today. Multiple times. The shift ends in 20 minutes, so we need to find a way to keep you safe, feeling safe and not wear down everyone. I'm sorry, Amy begins and Chunk holds up a hand. Don't apologize. You're a child despite your physical development. Asking for anything other than basic manners at this point in your life is too much. And to be honest, even the manners is a big ask. You're technically only a couple of months old, Cenk says. That's right, and Modan begins to say before he pauses and pulls out his communicator, moments before it starts chiming, and answers it. Is this confirmation? It is? Good. Confirmation for guest status, Cenk asks. Indeed, Miss Frost, Miss Duckett. You both are formally invited onto the Dauntless. Not only will this keep you near Cenk and myself, but you will also have a small army of people with similar skills right nearby. Anyone that wants to attack you there better have the assassin to end all assassins, or be ready to bring an entire army to have even the slightest chance at even scowling at you, Modan says, and Linda sighs. Well, that's certainly one massive concern dealt with. I say we return to this tomorrow when we're all rested and able to think more clearly, Linda says, and there's some nodding. Right, Vera begins before stretching and then looking around. Cenk knows what's coming and braces himself before he gets pounced on. She scrambles onto his back and latches on. Is this really the best accommodation you can get for the young miss? Gabriella asks the short, undaunted asset known as Private Stream. Apparently everyone of this particular stature and uniform were simply to be referred to as Private Stream, regardless of whether or not they were the one you were speaking to earlier, or if there were multiple Private Streams in a room. It's the most offensive, ma'am. I understand it's not as palatial as you're used to, but if you're looking for safer, you'll need something like a legion of Apuk battle princesses or several entire fleets of Crimson Hewers to get there. Private Stream promises her, and she sighs. I see, but there's nothing in the form of a proper kitchen in here. How am I to prepare Miss Frost's meals? We'll send food up whenever you request. I'd much rather cook for the young miss myself. I've heard about human culinary preferences. She replies. Who said I'm human? Private Stream asks, and there's a pause. He then takes off his hat, and the fuzzy features of an Ikea man beam up at her. Fooled you good, didn't I? What are you? Amy asks, sounding honestly curious. Undaunted? Not that. I meant species. I've never seen your kind before. Oh, Ikea. My race has a symbiotic relationship with the Ikeamas, which look like bigger versions of my kind. Imagine if Arumenta had a stable subspecies that was very big, like as big as a Canador. That's what the Ikeamas are to my kind, which is what the Mas say the Ta are, but going in the other direction. But we're all Ikea, so it's a friendly argument. I was under the impression that your kind also had tails. Gabriella states, and the small tail uncoils from under his coat and pokes her in the knee. I see. Well played, young man. I'm the oldest person in this room, the Private Stream says, before affixing his hat again and wrapping his tail up underneath his coat once more. Would you prefer little man, then? It's more accurate, Private Stream says in a cheery tone. Okay, but do I have to stay in here the whole time? You can wander in allowed areas of the ship. It might be best to just hunker down and nap or read a book, though, Private Stream says. I agree with Private Stream. It would be best to simply abide. We're behind reinforced wall and surrounded on all sides by friendly soldiers. It would be best if you didn't roam, madam. You were attacked too. Miss Duckett, you need to keep safe too, Amy insists. Both of you can stay in here and I'll get something sent up if you're hungry. We also have a projector and a bunch of human movies translated by some dedicated computer algorithms, if you're interested. Can we? Amy asks eagerly, and Gabriella can already feel herself agreeing. She's supposed to be this girl's servant and head of her household staff, but she felt far more like a mother most of the time. It's what made her so uncertain. With Amanda, she knew exactly where she stood. But with Amy, I suppose, she says. She wants to deny this girl nothing. But is it her place? Does she have a right or responsibility to say no? To say yes? She's both a servant and a mother to someone so capable and yet so vulnerable. The young miss chooses a series called Lethal Weapon, a police action movie. The young lady proves that she understands her downloaded information very well as she criticizes the schemes of each movie's antagonist, how they could have made more money without resorting to crime if they've got access to the context needed to bring in overseas shipments and the know-how on how to get armed guards on their products. The second movie has her ask for Private Stream, and she starts quizzing him about how diplomatic immunity works on Earth. And the answer has her conclude that either the villain or the writers for the movie were idiots. The third movie had her nearly dying in laughter for the fact that the characters were mostly computer illiterate, and that seems to drain her of the last of her energy, as before the movie ends, she ends up nodding off while leaning against Gabriella. As her faithful servant, Gabriella carefully readjusts her into a more comfortable spot on one of the two beds and tucks her in. "Here," Private Stream says, offering a book and a glass of water to Gabriella. It's a guide on parenting. Everyone in intelligence can see it. Caring isn't a crime. I'm her servant, not her mother. I can't be her mother. Then she has no mother. It's you or no one. Private Stream says, and she offers a glare. If not you, then who? That draws her up short, and she then looks away. I'm not good enough. Then become good enough, Private Stream says, and Gabriella sighs before thinking. Do you have some cookbooks? We do. Do you want one for Arumenta or another species? Private Stream asks. Arumenta is exactly what I'm looking for, she says as she looks over to where Amy is sleeping and nods. And tell Modin that the answer is yes. I can and I will. Ah, he gave you the challenge. Good to hear. I'll be... Private Stream says before the door opens. Delivery for Private Stream, the Private Stream on the other side asks. I'm Private Stream. What do you have for me, Private Stream? He asks, and Gabriella softly groans at the comedy skit they're kicking off. There's a light stirring as Amy's eyes crack open and she begins to stir. A book you ordered has arrived, Private Stream. Thank you, Private Stream. Is that even a word? The bleary and half-conscious Amy mutters. It's all right, just a pair of silly boys being silly, Gabriella assures her with a gentle hand on her shoulder. Kay, Amy says, drifting off again. Gabriella then turns a furious glare to the two Private Streams that wordlessly hand her the cookbook that she takes a little more forcibly than she has to. What is wrong with you? We needed to see. One of them says, see what? You rabbis have very good reaction times, very, very good. But you're not Apex. When things go weird, you react on reflex unless you're very well trained. One of them says, you don't have that training. So that means you really care. Do you think I'd be a danger to Miss Frost? She asks in a tone dripping with contempt. We had to consider all options, then eliminate them so we can figure out what's really going on. What's going on is some madwoman thinks she can profit by hurting my ward. Well, yes, but if there's enough, and there probably is, then she can pay someone or cut them in on part of the prize to get them to do something. Like, say, someone already close? Private Stream asks, and she mentally concedes the point, but still isn't happy about being suspected.